The cabin smells like pine resin and desperation. Elena Voss stands at the kitchen window, one hand pressed against the small of her aching back, the other cradling the swell of her belly. 6 months pregnant, and she's still hauling firewood alone, still splitting kindling with an axe that feels heavier every day, still pretending that choosing this isolated life was about independence rather than running away from everything she couldn't fix. The morning light filters through the frost-covered glass, turning the Appalachian ridge beyond into something that looks almost gentle, almost forgiving. But Elena knows better. She's been on this mountain for 8 months now, long enough to understand that beauty here is just camouflage for hardship, her grandmother's property. That's what the lawyer called it when he found her working doubles at a diner in Asheville. Your grandmother, Iris Voss, passed away 3 months ago, left you 40 acres and a structure in Hawkins County, Virginia. No mortgage, but significant back taxes owed. Elena hadn't even known she had a grandmother. Her mother never spoke about family, never mentioned anyone beyond the two of them scraping by in a series of rented rooms. When her mother died of pneumonia 2 years ago, Elena had assumed she was alone in the world. The inheritance felt like a message from a ghost, an offer from someone who understood what it meant to be erased. She took everything she owned, loaded it into her 15-year-old Honda, and drove into these mountains without looking back. The baby wasn't planned. The father wasn't interested. By the time Elena realized she was pregnant, Marcus had already moved on to someone else, someone who didn't work herself to exhaustion and still barely made rent. She could have stayed in Asheville, could have figured out somehow, but the thought of raising a child in that tiny apartment, working 3 jobs just to afford daycare, made her chest tight with panic. The mountain offered something different. Space, silence, a chance to build something that belonged to her. But standing here now, watching her breath fog in the cold air because the fire burned down overnight and she's too tired to rebuild it yet, Elena wonders if she's made a terrible mistake. The cabin is small. 2 rooms, plus a root cellar access through a trapdoor in the kitchen floor. No electricity, no running water, no internet. The well is 30 yards from the house, and hauling water in January feels like punishment for sins she can't remember committing. The outhouse is 15 yards in the opposite direction, a miserable journey when the temperature drops below freezing and nature calls at 3 in the morning. Before we continue, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story is touching you already, make sure you're subscribed. I've got something extra special saved for tomorrow. Her closest neighbor is 4 miles down a logging road that becomes impassable when it snows. The nearest town, Hawkins Hollow, is a 40-minute drive when conditions are good, an impossible journey when they're not. She's learned to check the weather obsessively, to stockpile food when she can afford it, to ration everything as if she's preparing for a siege that never quite arrives but always threatens. The pregnancy makes everything harder. She's tired all the time now, a bone-deep exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch. Her back aches from the way her center of gravity has shifted. Her ankles swell by evening. Simple tasks, splitting wood, hauling water, climbing a ladder to check the stovepipe, require twice the effort they did 3 months ago. And she's alone with it, completely alone. Elena presses her forehead against the cold glass. The ridge beyond is covered in snow, unmarked except for the tracks of deer and the occasional fox. No human footprints but her own. No voices but the wind moving through the bare branches of the oaks and hickories. Some days, the solitude feels like freedom. Other days, it feels like drowning. She forces herself away from the window. The fire needs rebuilding. The chickens need feeding. Life continues whether she's ready for it or not. The root cellar is where she stores her winter supplies. Potatoes, onions, canned goods she brought from town, jars of preserves she made in October when the blackberries were ripe. She descends a wooden ladder carefully, one hand on the rail, moving slowly because a fall now would be catastrophic. The space is dark and cold, but warmer than outside, earth-insulated, just deep enough to stay above freezing. Her grandmother built the cellar herself, according to the county records. Dug it by hand in 1974, the same year she built the cabin. Elena tries to imagine the kind of woman who would do that, who would carve a life from this mountain with nothing but determination and a shovel. She's reaching for a jar of tomatoes when she hears it. A hollow sound, different from the usual settling of old wood, sharper, more deliberate. Elena freezes, listening. Nothing, just a whisper of her own breathing and the distant creak of the cabin floor above. She takes a step, and her boot lands on a floorboard that shifts slightly. Not rotten, not loose in the way old wood gets loose. This movement feels purposeful, as if the board is meant to lift. Her pulse quickens. She kneels awkwardly, belly making position uncomfortable, and runs her fingers along the edge of the board. There's a gap here, barely visible in the dim light from the trap door above. She pries at it with her fingernails, and the board lifts easily, revealing darkness beneath. Not earth, not foundation stone, empty space. Elena's hands tremble as she pulls the board fully away. Below, carved into the bedrock beneath the cellar, is an opening, a tunnel mouth, maybe 3 feet wide, descending at a gentle angle into absolute blackness. Her heart hammers against her ribs. She grabs a flashlight she keeps on the cellar shelf, the heavy mag light that doubles as a weapon when she hears sounds outside at night. The beam cuts through the darkness below, revealing stone walls, rough cut but deliberate. This is a natural cave. Someone excavated this. Someone built it. Her grandmother? Elena lowers herself to the edge, shining the light as far as it will reach. The tunnel extends beyond the beam's range, disappearing into the mountain itself. The air rising from below is cold but not damp, dry, sealed, as if whatever is down there has been waiting, perfectly preserved for decades. She should close it up, should nail the board back in place, and pretend she never found it. But her hand is already reaching for the ladder, rung someone carved into the stone wall. Section 2, the catalyst. Elena's rational mind is screaming at her to stop. She's 6 months pregnant. She's alone. She's about to climb into a tunnel of unknown depth and stability that's been sealed for God knows how long. Every survival instinct she's developed over 8 months on this mountain is telling her this is monumentally stupid. She climbs down anyway. The ladder rungs are solid, carved directly into the stone with careful precision. Someone spent weeks, maybe months, creating this passage. The effort required makes her dizzy to think about. How many hours with a chisel and hammer? How much determination to move this much rock? Her boots find the tunnel floor 6 feet below the cellar. The space is taller than she expected, maybe 7 feet at its highest point. She can stand upright, can move forward without crouching. The beam of her flashlight reveals walls that aren't quite smooth, but aren't rough either. Purposeful work, not artistry. The air tastes old, not stale, not suffocating, just old, as if it's been waiting here, undisturbed, since before Elena was born. She moves forward slowly, one hand on the wall for balance, the other holding the flashlight steady. The tunnel slopes downward at an angle that makes walking easy, but descending concerning. How far does this go? How deep into the mountain? 20 feet in, she finds a first marking. It's carved into the wall at shoulder height. A date, 1930. Below it, initials, IV, Iris Voss, her grandmother. Elena's breath catches. This tunnel is nearly a century old. Her grandmother was, 23 when she carved this? Younger than Elena is now. What was she doing? What was she hiding? The tunnel continues. Elena follows, counting her steps. 50, 75, 100. The passage curves gently to the left, following the natural contours of the mountain. Whoever built this understood the land, knew how to work with the stone rather than against it. At 130 steps, the tunnel opens into a chamber. Elena stops at the threshold, flashlight sweeping across the space. The room is maybe 15 feet across, 10 feet high. The walls are reinforced with timber supports, wood that somehow remains solid despite the decades. The floor is level, carefully graded, and in the center of the room sits a door, not a tunnel entrance, an actual door, heavy wood, banded with iron, set into a frame that's built into a stone wall that shouldn't exist this deep in the mountain. The wall is brick, mortared with precision, filling what must be a natural fissure in the bedrock. The door is sealed, not locked with a visible mechanism, but sealed, A thick bead of what looks like tar or pitch runs along every edge, creating an airtight barrier. Elena approaches slowly. Her hand hovers over the wood, not quite touching. Why would someone seal a door this thoroughly? What needs to be kept in? Or kept out? She notices the handle. Old iron, simple in design, but functional. Below it, a keyhole. Large, the kind that takes an old-fashioned skeleton key. She tries the handle anyway, knowing it won't turn. It doesn't. But when she pulls, something inside shifts. Not the door itself, but something behind it. A faint sound like metal sliding against metal, like a mechanism responding after decades of silence. Elena jerks her hand back. Her heart is racing now, adrenaline flooding her system. The baby kicks, hard, as if responding to her anxiety. She presses a hand to her belly, taking slow breaths. "It's okay," she whispers. To the baby. To herself. "We're okay." She examines the door more carefully, running the flashlight beam along every inch. No writing. No instructions. Just solid wood and iron bands, and that seal keeping everything inside perfectly contained. Then she sees it. On the wall beside the door, partially hidden by shadow, another carving. Not a date this time. Words. For those who come after. The truth is here. The price was paid. Don't let them take it. Elena's throat tightens. Them. Who is them? She reads the message again, touching each letter with her fingertip. Her grandmother's handwriting, she assumes. Her grandmother's warning. But a warning about what? The chamber feels suddenly smaller, the air thicker. Elena backs away from the door, flashlight beam dancing across the walls. She needs to think, needs to figure out what this is before she does anything else. As she turns to leave, her boot catches on something. She stumbles, catches herself against the wall, and looks down. A metal box. Small, maybe 8 inches square, tucked against the base of the timber support where the shadows are deepest. It's covered in dust, so thick it looks like fur. Elena kneels carefully, setting the flashlight on the floor, so the beam illuminates the box. She lifts it with both hands. Heavy, not empty. The lid isn't locked. It opens with a dry creak that echoes an enclosed space. Inside, a key. Large, ornate, clearly meant for the door. And beneath it, wrapped in oilcloth, a leather journal. Elena's hands shake as she unwraps the journal. The leather is cracked but intact. She opens it to the first page. The handwriting is small, precise, feminine. My name is Elena Voss. I am 23 years old. It is January 15th, 1930. If you are reading this, I am dead and you are family. The tunnel leads to what they tried to take. What I protected. What you must protect now. Elena sits down hard on the stone floor, journal in her lap, and begins to read. Section 3. The first reveal. The journal is thick, maybe 200 pages, every one covered in that same careful handwriting. Elena reads by flashlight, sitting on the cold stone floor of the chamber, her grandmother's words pulling her into a past she never knew existed. January 15th, 1930. The mine closed today. Not temporarily. Permanently. The company says the coal is gone, but that's a lie. We all know it's a lie. The seam runs another 2 miles into the mountain, rich and thick. But coal prices have dropped, and the owners found cheaper labor in Kentucky. So they're abandoning Hawkins Hollow, leaving 300 families with nothing. Pa is angry. Ma is scared. My brothers are talking about heading west, joining the migrants looking for work in California. But I'm not leaving. This mountain is ours. Our grandfather homesteaded this ridge in 1847. We have claim to this land, legal and moral. And I know something the mine owners don't. I know where the real treasure is. Elena turns a page, pulse racing. January 20th, 1930. Pa worked in the mine for 32 years. He started at 12, same as all the boys did. He knows every tunnel, every shaft, every pocket of coal, and every vein of stone. And he knows about the silver. The company founded in 1927, deep in the mountain past the coal seam. A vein of pure silver, thick as a man's arm, running through a natural cave system. They didn't tell anyone. kept it secret, hired special miners from out of state to extract it quietly at night when the regular crews were gone. Pa found out by accident. He was doing maintenance on a support beam near the deep shaft when he heard them talking, heard them bragging about how much they were pulling out, how the bosses were getting rich while paying us starvation wages for coal. He told me to keep silent, said speaking up would just get us blacklisted or worse. But I couldn't let it go. That silver belongs to this mountain, to the people who bled for it. So I started exploring. Elena's breath comes shallow. She turns a page. February 1st, 1930. The mine entrance is guarded now, but there are other ways into mountain. Old shafts from the 1880s that the company thought they'd sealed. Natural caves that connect to the tunnel system if you know where to look. I found a way in through the hollow behind our property. A cave mouth hidden by rhododendron, barely big enough to squeeze through. It opens into a passage that runs parallel to the main mine shaft, about 50 feet higher. Natural formation, never worked by miners. I followed it for 3 hours, crawling in places, squeezing through gaps that tore my clothes. My lamp almost died twice, but I found it, the silver chamber. It's a natural room, cathedral size, walls sparkling with veins of pure silver. The company had been mining it for years, but they barely scratched the surface. There's so much left, enough to make a person rich for life, enough to save this entire town. But I can't tell anyone. The company has lawyers, judges, politicians. If they know I found their secret mine, they'll have me arrested for trespassing. Or worse. So I'm going to take it myself. Elena's hands are trembling so badly, she almost drops the journal. She forces herself to keep reading. March 15th, 1930. I've been working in the cave for 6 weeks. Every night after Pa and my brothers are asleep, I slip out and make the journey through the mountain. I bring tools from the barn, a pickaxe, a hammer, canvas bags. The silver comes out in chunks. Some pieces are the size of my fist. Some are as big as a dinner plate. The ore is so pure it barely needs processing. I can break it free with a few good strikes. I'm storing it in the root cellar I'm building under the new cabin. The cabin is my cover story. Everyone thinks I'm just a young woman building herself a homestead, preparing for a future husband. They don't know I'm building a vault. I've dug the cellar twice, as deep as necessary. Built a false floor. Below it, I'm excavating a tunnel that leads to a sealed chamber. That's where the silver will go. Protected. Hidden. Waiting. The work is killing me. My hands are covered in blisters. My back aches constantly. I've lost 15 pounds I couldn't afford to lose. But I can't stop. This silver is justice. The mine owners stole from us for decades, paid us pennies while they got rich. This is taking back what's ours. Elena flips forward, scanning entries. The dates jump ahead. June 3rd, 1930. The tunnel is complete. The chamber is ready. I've made 17 trips into the silver cave, brought out 300 pounds of ore, raw silver, worth more than I can calculate. I've sealed it behind a door I commissioned from a blacksmith 2 counties over. He thinks it's for a smokehouse. No one knows, not even Pa, especially not Pa. He would make me give it back, turn it over to the authorities. He still believes in the system, thinks justice can be found through proper channels. But I've seen what the system does. It protects the powerful and grinds the poor into dust. I'm protecting this silver until the time is right. Until I can sell it legally, anonymously, without bringing the company's wrath down on my family. The entries become sporadic after that. Years pass between writings. November 1935. Still waiting. The Depression has made everything worse. The company went bankrupt, sold the mine to speculators who are even more ruthless. They're hiring armed guards, threatening anyone who gets too close to the mountain. Several men have been beaten for trespassing. One was shot. I can't risk going back for more silver. Can't risk revealing what I've already taken. The door stays sealed. December 1945. The war is over. I thought things would get better, but the mine changed hands again. The new owners are suspicious, asking questions about the old silver operation. Someone must have found records, realized the numbers don't add up. They've been surveying the mountain, drilling test holes, looking for the vein. They'll never find it. The entrance I used collapsed in a storm 2 years ago. The natural passage is gone. The only way to that silver chamber now is through the mine's main shaft, and they sealed that with concrete when they abandoned it in 1948. My silver is safe, but I'm getting old. I need to leave instructions for whoever comes next. The final entry is dated just 3 years ago, April 2022. I'm 83 years old. My hands shake too much to write clearly, but this needs to be recorded. The silver is still there. 300 pounds of pure ore, worth millions at today's prices. I never sold it, never spent it, kept it hidden my entire life, because I could never find a safe way to move it without attracting attention. The mountain is still dangerous. The old mining company's descendants still own the mineral rights. They're dormant now, but mineral rights don't expire. If they find out about the silver, they'll claim it belongs to them. They'll take it, same as they took everything else. So I'm leaving it to my granddaughter, my son's daughter. I never met her. My son married a woman I didn't approve of, someone who wanted to leave the mountains. We fought. He left. I was too proud to reach out, but I've kept track. I know about the girl, Elena. I know her mother died. I know she's struggling. If she's reading this, if she found the tunnel, it means she's ready. It means she needs it. The silver is hers, but she must be careful. The Hawkins mining company still has lawyers, still has claims. If they find out, they'll fight. Tell no one. Trust no one. Sell it slowly, anonymously, through dealers who won't ask questions. And protect yourself, because the mountain remembers, and the mountain keeps its secrets. The journal ends there. Elena sits in the darkness, flashlight beam growing dimmer, and tries to process what she's just read. 300 pounds of silver. At current prices, that's over $2 million. Maybe 3, depending on purity. Hidden behind this door, waiting for her. Her hand goes to her belly where the baby kicks again. $2 million. Enough to change everything. Enough to give her child a life she never had. Education. Security. Options. But her grandmother's warning echoes in her mind. Tell no one. Trust no one. Elena looks at the sealed door. The key is in her hand, heavy and cold. She could open it right now. Could see the silver with her own eyes. But something holds her back. If the silver's been safe for 94 years, it can wait another day. She needs to think, needs to plan, needs to understand what she's really dealing with before she breaks that seal. She tucks the journal into her coat, pockets the key, and begins a long climb back to the surface. Behind her, in the darkness of the sealed chamber, something older than memory waits in silence. The mountain keeps its secrets. But secrets, Elena is beginning to understand, always demand a price. Part 2, The Unraveling. Section 4, Pursuing the Truth. Elena doesn't sleep that night. She lies in her narrow bed, blankets pulled to her chin, staring at the ceiling beams while her mind races through everything she read. The journal sits on the table beside her, its leather cover reflecting the dying firelight. Every few minutes, she reaches out and touches it, confirming it's real. 300 pounds of silver. Her grandmother's lifetime of secrecy. A warning about people who might still be looking. The baby shifts inside her, a rolling movement that's become familiar over the past month. Elena places both hands on her belly, feeling the solid reality of the life growing there. This child deserves better than what Elena had. Deserves more than scrambling for rent money and eating ramen for dinner 3 nights a week. But her grandmother's words haunt her. The Hawkins mining company still has lawyers, still has claims. Can a company really claim mineral rights to something extracted nearly a century ago? Can they take silver that her grandmother mined with her own hands, store with her own labor, protect it with her own silence? Elena doesn't know, and not knowing is dangerous. When dawn finally seeps through the frost-covered window, she makes a decision. She needs information. Real information, not guesswork and fear. She needs to understand a legal landscape before she opens that door, before she touches a single ounce of silver. She needs to go to town. The drive to Hawkins Hollow takes 53 minutes on roads that have seen better decades. Elena's Honda protests every pothole, every washboard section, every steep grade where gravel has worn down to bedrock. Her hands grip the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white. The pregnancy makes driving uncomfortable. Her belly presses against the steering wheel no matter how far back she adjusts the seat. Her lower back aches after 20 minutes. She has to stop twice to pee, squatting behind roadside trees in the freezing January air. But she keeps going. Hawkins Hollow is barely a town. 300 residents, maybe fewer. Main Street runs for 4 blocks before giving up and becoming a state highway again. There's a general store, a post office, a diner that's only open for breakfast and lunch, a combination gas station, auto repair shop, and a single-story brick building that houses a county clerk's office, a tiny library, and the volunteer fire department. Elena parks in front of the library. The building is cold inside, heated by a single kerosene stove that barely makes a dent in the January chill. The librarian is a woman in her 60s, wearing a cardigan over a flannel shirt, reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. She looks up when Elena enters, and her expression shifts from mild interest to something warmer. "You must be Iris's granddaughter," she says. "You have her eyes." Elena freezes. "You knew my grandmother?" Everyone knew Iris. She lived here her whole life. Died last spring, up on that mountain by herself. We didn't find her for 3 days. The woman stands, extending a hand. "I'm Dorothy Keene. I've been the librarian here for 40 years. Elena shakes her hand, trying to process this. Her grandmother wasn't just some hermit. She was part of this community. Had a life here that Elena knows nothing about. "I'm Elena. I inherited her property." Dorothy nods. "I heard. You're staying up there?" "Yes." "In your condition?" Dorothy's eyes drop to Elena's belly. "That's brave. Or foolish. I haven't decided which." Elena bristles slightly. "I'm managing." Dorothy's expression softens. "I'm sure you are. Iris was the toughest woman I ever knew. If you're anything like her, you'll be fine." She gestures toward a small table near the stove. "What brings you to the library?" Elena hesitates. Her grandmother's warning echoes. Tell no one. Trust no one. But she needs information. And Dorothy knew her grandmother. Maybe trusted her. "I'm researching the old mining operations," Elena says carefully, trying to understand the history of the area. Dorothy's eyes sharpen slightly. Just a flicker of something, curiosity, maybe suspicion, before her expression returns to neutral. "The Hawkins mine? That closed in 1930, long before my time." "I know, but I'm interested in the mineral rights. Who owns them now? Whether they're still active." Dorothy moves to a filing cabinet in the corner, pulling open a drawer. Mineral rights are tricky in this county. A lot of the old claims are still on the books, even if nobody's worked them in decades. The Hawkins Mining Company technically still owns rights to most of the mountain, including the land your grandmother's property sits on. Elena's stomach tightens. But she owned the surface rights? She did. Bought them outright in 1952. But surface rights and mineral rights are separate things. She owned the land. The company owned everything underneath it. So if someone found minerals on the property, Dorothy looks at her directly. Depends on the mineral and how it was extracted. Coal definitely belongs to the rights holder. Silver, though, that's more complicated. Silver wasn't part of the original claim. The company discovered it later during operations, never registered it properly with the county. There's some question about whether their mineral rights extend to metals they didn't specifically claim. Elena's pulse quickens. How would someone find out for sure? You'd need to talk to a lawyer. Maybe check the original deeds at the county recorder's office in Bristol. That's an hour's drive south. Dorothy closes the filing cabinet. Why the sudden interest in mining law? Elena forces a casual shrug. Just trying to understand what I inherited. Dorothy studies her for a long moment. Then she walks to a bookshelf, pulling down a thin volume. This is the most complete history of the Hawkins mine, written by a local historian in 1975. Iris gave him a lot of information for it. though she never let him interview her on the record. Elena takes the book. The title is The Hawkins Hollow Mine, Rise and Fall of a Company Town. There's a chapter about the silver, Dorothy says quietly. The author tried to track down what happened to it. The company record showed extraction, but there's no record of it being sold or processed. Just vanished. The author theorized it was embezzled by company managers, sold privately, never accounted for. Elena keeps her expression neutral. Interesting. Very. Dorothy returns to her desk. Your grandmother checked this book out 17 times over the years. Always seemed fascinated by that chapter. The subtext is clear. Dorothy knows, or at least suspects. Elena tucks the book under her arm. Thank you for your help. Elena. Dorothy's voice stops her at the door. Be careful. There are still people in this county who remember the mine, who remember the company's tactics. Old grudges run deep here. I'll be careful. And if you find anything interesting up on that mountain, you might want to consult a lawyer before doing anything with it. Elena meets her eyes. I'll keep that in mind. Outside, the January wind cuts through her coat. Elena sits in her car for a long moment, engine running. Heater struggling to warm the interior. She opens a book Dorothy gave her, flipping to the chapter on silver. The historian's writing is dry, academic, but the facts are clear. The company extracted an estimated 400 pounds of pure silver between 1927 and 1930. Value at the time, roughly $80,000. The silver disappeared from company records in January 1930. Same month the mine closed. Internal investigations found nothing. The company blamed sabotage, theft, labor agitators. But reading between the lines, Elena sees what the historian couldn't prove. The company knew someone took the silver. They searched for years. They never found it, because her grandmother was better at hiding things than they were at finding them. Elena's phone buzzes. Limited signal, but enough for a text to come through. She doesn't recognize the number. We need to talk about your property. Call me. R. Hawkins. Hawkins. Elena's blood runs cold. She checks the number against an internet search. It's a law firm. Hawkins, Price & Associates. Based in Bristol, Virginia. They're still watching. Still waiting. The company never gave up. Section 5. The Deeper Secret. Elena drives back to the mountain faster than she should, tires slipping on gravel curves, heart pounding against her ribs. The text message feels like a threat, like a hand reaching across decades to reclaim what was taken. We need to talk about your property. How do they even know she exists? She's been here 8 months. Hasn't talked to anyone about the inheritance except the lawyer who handled the estate. Hasn't drawn attention to herself. Unless they've been monitoring the property all along. Waiting to see who would inherit. Waiting to see if anyone would find what Iris hid. The cabin feels different when she returns. Less like a refuge, more like a target. Elena locks the door, something she rarely does. Builds up the fire until the room is almost too warm. Then she sits at the table with the journal and the history book, reading both again, looking for details she missed. The baby kicks hard, a rolling movement that makes her wince. She presses a hand to the spot, feeling the firm pressure of foot or elbow pushing against her palm. I know, she whispers. I'm scared too. She makes herself eat. Can soup heated on the wood stove. Bread she baked 3 days ago. Her appetite is gone, but the baby needs nutrition. She forces down every bite. When darkness falls, she lights the lanterns. The cabin fills with yellow light that throws shadows into every corner. She checks the windows, making sure the shutters are secure. Checks the door again. Then she opens the trap door to the root cellar. The tunnel entrance stares up at her like a mouth. She hasn't been back down since yesterday morning. Hasn't opened the sealed door. Hasn't touched the silver she now knows is real valuable and claimed by people with lawyers and resources she can't match. But she needs to see it. Needs to confirm with her own eyes that everything her grandmother wrote is true. Elena descends into the cellar, flashlight in hand. The displaced floorboard leans against the wall where she left it. The tunnel mouth yawns below. She climbs down the carved ladder, moving slowly, carefully. Her balance is off with the pregnancy weight, and a fall here would be catastrophic. No cell service, no way to call for help. She could die down here, and no one would find her for weeks. The thought should stop her. Doesn't. She reaches the tunnel floor and begins a familiar walk. 130 steps to the chamber. She counts them, using the rhythm to steady her breathing. The sealed door waits in the flashlight beam, exactly as she left it. The key is in her pocket, heavy and solid. She pulls it out, holding it up to the lock. This is the moment. Once she breaks the seal, there's no pretending she doesn't know what's inside. No plausible deniability. She slides the key into the lock. It fits perfectly. Well-made mechanisms that survived nearly a century. She turns it. The lock opens with a solid click. Elena grips the iron handle and pulls. The seal breaks with a dry crack, tar or pitch that's turned brittle with age. The door swings outward, hinges protesting slightly. Cold air rushes out, carrying a scent of stone and metal and time. Elena raises the flashlight. The chamber beyond is small, maybe 8 feet deep. The walls are natural stone, the floor smooth bedrock. And stacked against the back wall, wrapped in canvas and oilcloth, are bundles. Dozens of them, each one the size of a hay bale. Her hands shake as she approaches the nearest bundle. She sets down the flashlight and begins unwrapping the oilcloth. The fabric is surprisingly intact, oiled leather doing its job across the decades. Inside, chunks of ore, silver veined through quartz and granite. Some pieces are the size of her fist. Some are bigger. The silver gleams in the flashlight beam, pure and untarnished. Elena picks up one chunk. It's heavy, denser than she expected. The silver runs through the stone in thick veins, almost too beautiful to be real. She unwraps another bundle, then another. Every one is full of ore, rich, pure, valuable ore. Her grandmother wasn't exaggerating. This is easily 300 pounds, maybe more. At current silver prices, around $25 per ounce. 300 pounds equals roughly 120,000 ounces. That's $3 million. $3 million. Elena sits back hard, or chunks still in her hands. The number doesn't feel real. Can't be real. She's lived her entire adult life paycheck to paycheck, scrambling for every dollar. And now she's sitting on wealth that could change everything. Change everything for her, for the baby, for generations. But her grandmother's warning echoes. They'll claim it belongs to them. They'll take it. Can she get it out without being caught? Can she sell it without drawing attention? Elena examines the bundles more carefully. There are 23 of them. Each one weighs maybe 15 pounds. She could carry one at a time, transport them to the cabin, hide them somewhere more accessible than this sealed chamber. But then what? She needs a plan. Needs to figure out how to convert rock into cash without alerting the mining company's lawyers, without leaving a trail that leads back to her. She's rewrapping the bundles when she notices something else. In the corner of the chamber, hidden behind the stacks of ore, is another object, smaller, a metal box, similar to the one that held the journal. Elena pulls it free, brushing off decades of dust. This box is locked, but the key from her pocket opens it. Inside, she finds documents. Old papers, yellowed and fragile, and a photograph. The photo shows a young woman, maybe 23, standing in front of a cabin Elena recognizes. Her cabin. The woman is small, wiry, with dark hair pulled back and eyes that stare directly at the camera with fierce intensity. Iris Voss, her grandmother. Elena touches the photograph gently. She never knew this woman, never heard her voice, never felt her embrace. But looking at those eyes, she sees something of herself. That same determination, that same refusal to give up. The documents are more interesting. Property deeds, mining permits, and something that makes Elena's breath catch. A contract, dated 1928, between Iris Voss and the Hawkins Mining Company. Its employment agreement. Iris worked for the company. Not as a miner. Women weren't allowed underground, but as a surveyor's assistant. She mapped tunnels, drew diagrams of the mine's layout. She had access, official access. The company let her into the mountain, paid her to explore it, and she used that access to find the silver chamber, to learn its location, to plan her theft. She didn't just stumble onto it. She worked there, learned the mine's secrets from the inside. Elena keeps reading. There are internal company memos, documents Iris must have stolen or copied. They discuss the silver discovery, the decision to keep it secret, the plan to extract it quietly off the books to avoid paying taxes and regulatory fees. The company was stealing from itself, embezzling from its own operation, and Iris stole from the thieves. One document catches Elena's attention. It's a survey map hand-drawn, showing the mine's tunnel system. Iris's handwriting labels each passage, each shaft, and in the corner, circled in red ink, is a notation. Silver chamber, natural formation, access via deep shaft number 3 or surface entrance. Coordinates 36.7234 minus 82.4567. Elena's heart stops. Those coordinates, they're not in the mine. They're on her grandmother's property, on Elena's property. The silver chamber isn't just accessible through the old mine tunnels. There's a surface entrance, hidden somewhere on her 40 acres, which means the silver isn't just in that sealed room. The main deposit is still in the mountain, untouched, protected by geography and secrecy. What Elena has been sitting on isn't $3 million. It's potentially 10 times that, 20 times. However much silver remains in that natural chamber, still waiting to be extracted. Her grandmother only took 300 pounds, took enough to secure her future if she ever needed it, but left the rest, left it for whoever came after, left it for Elena. The realization is staggering. This isn't just an inheritance. It's a silver mine, hidden, unregistered, legally ambiguous, and now hers, if she can claim it, if she can protect it, if she can somehow convince the Hawkins Mining Company to leave her alone. Elena sits in the darkness of the sealed chamber, surrounded by $3 million in stolen silver and the knowledge that there's potentially 30 million more hidden somewhere on her mountain, and tries to figure out how a pregnant woman with no money, no connections, and no legal expertise is supposed to navigate this. The mountain keeps its secrets, but Elena is beginning to understand that secrets are only valuable if you know what to do with them, and she's running out of time to learn. Section 6. The threat escalates. Elena spends the next 3 days searching her property. The coordinates from the survey map should make finding the surface entrance easy. But 40 acres of mountainside, especially in January with snow covering everything, makes the search brutal. She hikes every ridge, investigates every outcropping, checks every depression that might hide a cave mouth. Nothing. Either the entrance has been sealed by a century of erosion and debris, or her grandmother was careful enough to hide it beyond casual discovery. Elena suspects the latter. Iris Voss wasn't casual about anything. By the 4th day, Elena's exhausted. Her back aches constantly now, the pregnancy weight making every climb harder. Her ankles are swollen. She's developed a persistent cough from spending hours in the cold mountain air. She's sitting on her porch, trying to catch her breath after another fruitless search, when she sees the vehicle coming up the logging road. Not a truck, a black SUV with tinted windows. Expensive, out of place on this rutted mountain track. Elena's pulse spikes. She stands, one hand braced against the porch rail, and watches the SUV navigate the final 100 yards to her cabin. It parks near her Honda. The engine cuts off. For a moment, nothing happens. Then 2 people emerge. A man in his 50s, wearing a wool coat over business casual clothes, dress shoes that are completely inappropriate for the terrain, and a woman, younger, maybe 30, in a similar coat with a leather briefcase. Lawyers. They have to be lawyers. The man approaches first, picking his way carefully over the uneven ground. Ms. Voss? Elena Voss. Elena doesn't move from the porch. Who's asking? My name is Richard Hawkins. This is my associate, Jennifer Price. We're with Hawkins, Price & Associates. He reaches the porch steps, doesn't climb them. I texted you last week. You didn't respond. I don't have cell service up here most of the time. Right. Well, he glances back at the woman, who's joined him at the base of the steps. We need to discuss your property. Specifically, the mineral rights. Elena's jaw tightens. My grandmother owned this land free and clear. The surface rights, yes, but the mineral rights are held by the Hawkins Mining Company, Limited, have been since 1922. Those rights include any ore, coal, metals, or other valuable substances found beneath the property. The mine closed in 1930. The rights didn't expire. Our clients have maintained the claim continuously for the past century, which means anything extracted from this mountain technically belongs to them. Elena's hands grip the porch rail. I haven't extracted anything. We'd like to verify that. Jennifer Price speaks for the first time. Her voice is crisp, professional. We'd like permission to survey the property. Simple visual inspection. We'll be in and out in a few hours. No. Richard Hawkins' expression doesn't change. Ms. Voss, we're trying to handle this diplomatically, but we have legal standing to petition for access. It'll be easier for everyone if you cooperate voluntarily. This is my property. You're not surveying anything without a warrant. A warrant isn't necessary for mineral rights holders. The law is very clear. We have access rights for reasonable inspection and potential extraction. Elena feels ice forming in her stomach. You want to mine here? We want to understand what's here. There are historical records indicating significant mineral deposits on this land. Deposits that were never properly accounted for. We have a duty to our clients to investigate. Your clients being the descendants of the original Hawkins Mining Company shareholders. When the company dissolved in 1952, the mineral rights were transferred to a trust. I'm the trustee. Of course he is. Hawkins. The family never let go. Elena straightens, try and project confidence she doesn't feel. I'll need to consult my own lawyer before allowing any access. Do you have a lawyer, Ms. Voss? Jennifer Price asks. Not confrontational, just factual, because retaining representation will be expensive, and contested mineral rights cases typically take years to resolve. Years Elena doesn't have, not with a baby coming in 3 months, not with almost no money and a cabin that barely keeps out the cold. They know this. They're counting on it. Richard Hawkins pulls a business card from his coat pocket, extending it toward her. Think about it. My number's on there. We're willing to negotiate a reasonable arrangement, perhaps a percentage of any mineral value discovered. You wouldn't have to give up the surface rights. Elena doesn't take the card. He sets it on the porch step. We'll be in touch, Ms. Voss. And Ms. Voss. He pauses. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman. She fought this battle for 60 years. She never won. Don't make the same mistake. They turn and walk back to the SUV. Elena watches them navigate the rough ground, get into their vehicle, drive away down the logging road. When they're gone, she sits down hard on the porch steps. Her hands are shaking. The baby kicks. Strong movements that feel almost like protest. They know. They have to know. Maybe not exactly what's hidden, maybe not where, but they know something is here. They've been watching, waiting for whoever inherited the property to reveal it. And Elena just confirmed she's hiding something by refusing access. She picks up the business card they left. The firm has offices in Bristol and Knoxville, big cities by local standards. Real resources, real money behind them. Elena has a cabin with no electricity and maybe $2,000 in her bank account. The fight isn't fair. It was never going to be fair. She goes inside, locks the door, and pulls out her grandmother's journal. She reads the final entry again, the one that ends with, "Tell no one, trust no one." But Elena needs help. She can't do this alone. Can't fight lawyers and mining companies and century-old claims while 6 months pregnant and living in isolation. She needs an ally, someone who understands the law, someone who's not afraid of the Hawkins family. And maybe, just maybe, she knows where to find one. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more incredible mountain stories like this one. Part 3, The Vindication. Section 7, The Stand. Elena finds a lawyer 3 towns over, in a converted house that serves as office space, for a solo practitioner who apparently couldn't afford Bristol rents. The sign out front reads, Sarah Chun, attorney at law, mineral rights, property disputes, David versus Goliath cases. That last line is what caught Elena's attention when she searched online at the public library. And the fact that Chun has won 3 cases against mining companies in the past 5 years. Not huge victories, but victories nonetheless. Settlements that let small landowners keep their property when corporations wanted to swallow them. The office is warm inside, heated by an efficient modern system that makes Elena's wood stove feel medieval. Chun herself is younger than Elena expected, maybe 35, wearing jeans and a sweater rather than a business suit. Her desk is buried under case files and legal books. She looks up when Elena enters. Elena Voss? Yes. Thank you for seeing me on short notice. You said it was urgent. Mineral rights dispute with Hawkins, Price? Chun gestures to a chair. Sit, please. You look exhausted. Elena sinks into the chair gratefully. The drive took 90 minutes, and her back is screaming. They came to my property 3 days ago. Demanded access to survey for mineral deposits. Did you let them? No. Good. Chun pulls out a yellow legal pad. Starts making notes. Tell me everything. Start with how you inherited the property. Elena tells her. Most of it. She explains about her grandmother, the inheritance, the isolated cabin. She mentions a journal, though not its full contents. Talks about the tunnel, but describes it as a root cellar extension rather than a silver vault. Chun listens without interrupting, scribbling notes in shorthand Elena can't read. When Elena finishes, Chun leans back in her chair. Okay, first question. Is there actually anything valuable on your property? Because if you're fighting over theoretical mineral rights with nothing to extract, that's one kind of case. If there's real silver, that's different. Elena hesitates. Her grandmother's warning, trust no one. But she came here for legal help. And Chen's reputation suggests she's not in the pocket of mining companies. There might be, Elena says carefully. Historical evidence suggests silver was extracted from the mountain in the 1920s. Some of it was never accounted for. Chen's eyes sharpen. How much? 300 pounds. Maybe more. Chun whistles softly. That's significant money. At current prices, you're talking millions. And the Hawkins family knows about this. They suspect. They have historical records. They've been monitoring the property since my grandmother died. Have you extracted any of it? No. Technically true. Elena found it, but hasn't moved it. Have you attempted to sell any? No. Chun makes more notes. Okay, here's the legal reality. Mineral rights in Virginia are complicated. The Hawkins Mining Company did hold rights to coal extraction on that land. But silver was never explicitly part of their original claim. When silver was discovered in 1927, the company should have filed an amended claim with the county. There's no record they did. So the silver rights might be separate? Might be. It's a gray area. But there's precedent for arguing that minerals not specified in the original claim revert to the surface rights holder, especially if the mineral rights holder failed to exercise proper notice. Elena feels a spark of hope. Can you make that argument? I can try, but here's the problem. Hawkins has deep pockets. They can afford to drag this out for years. File motion after motion. Appeal every decision. Even if you're legally right, the cost of proving it might be more than you can afford. The hope dims. How much would it cost? Retainer to start? $20,000. And that's just for the initial filing and research. If it goes to trial, you're looking at 6 figures. Elena's stomach drops. I don't have that kind of money. I know. Most of my clients don't. Chun taps her pen against the legal pad, which is why I sometimes work on contingency for the right cases. If you win, I take 30% of whatever value you recover. If you lose, you pay nothing but court fees. And you think this is the right kind of case? Chun studies her. Pregnant woman versus century-old mining company? Grandmother who fought for 60 years to protect her land? Secret silver that might be worth millions? This case is good bones. Good optics. The kind of story that makes juries angry at corporations and sympathetic to underdogs. But can we win? Chen's expression turned serious. Honestly, it's 50-50. Mineral rights law is technical. Judges don't like overturning established claims. And Hawkins will argue they maintain continuous ownership of the rights, even if they didn't actively mine. So what do I do? You have 3 options. 1, sell them the surface rights. Walk away with whatever they'll pay. It won't be much, but it'll be something. 2, fight them in court. Long odds, expensive, stressful, but potentially high reward. 3, find a way to extract and sell the silver quietly before they can stop you. Elena blinks. You're suggesting I steal from them? I'm suggesting that possession is 9/10 of the law. If the silver is already sold, already converted to cash, already distributed, there's very little they can do except sue you for the value. And if you don't have assets to seize, lawsuits are just expensive paper. That sounds illegal. It's legally ambiguous, which is different from illegal. If you genuinely believe you have rights to the minerals, extracting them isn't theft. It's exercising your property rights. The question is whether your claim is stronger than theirs. A court would have to decide. But if the silver is gone by the time they get a court order, the court can only award monetary damages, not the actual silver. Elena's mind races. It's a huge risk, but fighting in court is also a risk. And selling out means giving up everything her grandmother protected for a lifetime. If I went with option 3, Elena says slowly, hypothetically, how would someone even sell that much silver without drawing attention? Chen leans forward, carefully. Small amounts to different buyers. Scrap dealers who don't ask questions. Private collectors. You'd need to be patient. Take years, probably, but it could be done. Years I don't have. I'm having a baby in 3 months. Then you need help. Someone who knows the market. Someone who can move precious metals without attracting regulatory attention. Chen pulls out her phone, scrolls through contacts. I know someone. Used to be a commodities trader. Now he's a private dealer. Buys estate jewelry, antiques, scrap metals. He has connections. Can he be trusted? He's never screwed over any of my clients. But Elena, trust is relative. If you're dealing with millions in unregistered silver, everyone involved is taking a risk. The question is whether the risk is worth the reward. Elena places both hands on her belly, feeling the baby move. 3 months. 3 months until she's responsible for another human life. 3 months to secure a future or lose everything. Give me his number, she says. Chen writes it on a sticky note. His name is Marcus Yao. Tell him I sent you. Be careful what you tell him until you know you want to work with him. These conversations can be used against you if things go sideways. Elena takes a note. What about Hawkins? They said they'd be back. Stall them. Don't let them on the property without a court order. Don't sign anything. Don't admit to anything. If they push harder, call me immediately. And the retainer? Let's call it deferred. If option 3 works out, you pay me from the proceeds. If it doesn't, we'll figure something else out. Elena stands, extending her hand. Thank you. Chen shakes it firmly. Don't thank me yet. This is going to get messy before it gets better. But your grandmother fought for 60 years to protect that silver. She believed it was worth fighting for. Maybe she was right. Elena drives back to the mountain with Marcus Yao's phone number in her pocket and a plan forming in her mind. A dangerous plan. A probably illegal plan. But a plan that might actually work. The mountain looms ahead as she navigates the logging road, snow-covered and silent. It's kept secrets for nearly a century. It can keep them a little longer. Just long enough for Elena to turn stone into cash and desperate circumstances into security. The question is whether she's strong enough to pull it off, and whether the mountain, in the end, will let her. Section 8, The Victory. Marcus Yao agrees to meet her at a diner halfway between his office in Johnson City and Elena's mountain. Neutral ground. Public space. Smart precautions for people doing business that exists in legal gray areas. He's younger than Elena expected, maybe 40, dressed in casual clothes that don't draw attention. He orders coffee and breakfast, makes small talk about the weather, acts like they're old friends catching up. Only when the waitress leaves does his demeanor shift. Sarah says you have a mineral situation. He says quietly, I might have access to silver, or raw, never processed. Significant quantity. How significant? 300 pounds. Maybe more. Marcus's expression doesn't change, but his eyes sharpen. That's 7 figures worth. Where'd you access this? Family property. Historical extraction. Never sold. Legally obtained? Complicated ownership question. Active dispute with a mining company over rights. Marcus nods slowly. So you need to move it before they can claim it. Yes. That's risky for both of us. If they have legal standing, buying from you makes me a receiver of stolen property. The rights are ambiguous. My lawyer thinks I have a case, but not a certain case. No. Marcus drinks his coffee. Thinking, I'd need to see the ore, assess purity, confirm it's actually silver and not just silver-colored rock. If it's real and it's pure, I can move it, but not all at once. 300 pounds is too much for any single buyer. We'd have to portion it out. Dozens of transactions over months, maybe a year. I don't have a year. I need money now. How much now? Elena does the math in her head. Immediate needs, prenatal care, supplies for the baby, legal fees if Hawkins pushes harder, 50,000 within the next month. That's about 12 pounds of ore, depending on purity. Possible. I could advance you that against the full lot if you agree to give me exclusive rights to sell the rest. What percentage? I take 30%. You get 70. That's fair for the risk, I'm assuming. Elena runs the numbers. 300 pounds at current prices is roughly $3 million. 70% of that is $2.1 million. Minus 30% to her lawyer makes it $1.5 million. Life-changing money. Enough to raise her child without fear. Enough to never be desperate again. If I agree, how does this work? You bring me samples. Small amounts at first, maybe 5 pounds. I test them, verify purity, establish value. If everything checks out, I advance you the 50,000. You deliver the rest in installments. I move it through my network. Money goes into an account we set up, clean and documented as sales of estate metals. You pay taxes on it. Keep everything legal from your end. And if Hawkins finds out and sues, that's between you and them. I'm buying metals from someone who claims legal ownership. If ownership is later disputed, that's your legal problem, not mine. I'm protected by good faith purchase. It's not a perfect arrangement, but it might be the best Elena can get. I need to think about it. Don't think too long. If Hawkins is already making moves, you're on a clock. Every day you wait is a day they're building their case. Elena knows he's right, but agreeing to this means crossing a line, means committing to a course of action that could land her in serious legal trouble if it goes wrong. She thinks about her grandmother, spending 60 years hiding the silver because she couldn't find a safe way to use it, dying poor despite sitting on a fortune because she was too afraid to act. Elena doesn't want that life for herself, doesn't want it for her child. I'll bring you samples, she says, this weekend. Marcus nods once. Bring them to my shop. Addresses on my card. Come in through the back entrance. Don't tell anyone where you're going. They finish breakfast in silence. When they leave, they walk to their cars separately. Don't acknowledge each other in the parking lot. Elena drives back to the mountain with her heart pounding and her hands shaking on the wheel. She's really doing this. That night, Elena makes her first trip back into the sealed chamber. She takes a heavy backpack and a climbing harness she bought at a sporting goods store in Johnson City. The tunnel feels different now that she knows its full secret. Feels like a lifeline rather than a grave. She selects the smallest bundles, one she can carry safely despite her pregnancy, unwraps them carefully, places chunks of silver ore into the backpack. 5 pounds. Marcus's requested amount. She'll need to make multiple trips to extract the full 300 pounds. But she has time. Months, if necessary. The climb back up is brutal. The backpack weighs more than she expected. Her muscles burn. Her back screams. But she makes it, emerges into the root cellar breathing hard, sweating despite the cold. She hides the ore in the cabin's crawl space, wrapped in old blankets. Then she makes the call to Marcus, confirming her appointment for Saturday. 3 days later, Elena drives to Johnson City with 5 pounds of silver ore in a duffel bag on her passenger seat. Marcus's shop is exactly what Elena expected. A small storefront wedged between a pawn shop and a laundromat. The sign says estate purchases and precious metals. The windows are tinted. The door is locked. She knocks on the back entrance as instructed. Marcus opens it, glances past her to make sure she's alone, then lets her in. The back room is cramped, filled with equipment, scales, testing solutions, a small forge for melting metals. Marcus takes a duffel bag to a work table, empties it carefully. He examines each chunk under a jeweler's loupe, tests them with acid solutions, weighs them on a precision scale. The process takes 40 minutes. Finally, he looks up. It's real, very pure, minimal processing needed. This is exceptional ore. How much is it worth? At current market rate, this sample is worth about $13,000. If the rest is similar quality, your 300 pounds is closer to 800,000 ounces. That's $20 million, not 3. Elena's legs nearly give out. She grabs the edge of the table for support. 20 million? Give or take. I'd need to test more samples to be sure, but the purity is extraordinary. Your grandmother knew what she was taking. Elena can barely process it. $20 million. Hidden under her cabin, waiting for her to claim it. Can you move that much? Marcus grins. It'll take time. 2, maybe 3 years to liquidate without crashing local prices or drawing attention. But yes, I can move it. And the advance? I'll have 50,000 cash for you by Monday. Bring me 20 pounds next week. Then we'll establish a regular schedule. Elena nods, not trusting her voice. Elena, Marcus's expression turns serious. This is real money. Life-changing money. But it's also dangerous money. People kill for less. If Hawkins figures out what you're doing, if word gets out, you're a target. Be careful. Trust no one. And for God's sake, don't spend suddenly. Don't buy things that draw attention. Slow and steady. That's how you survive this. I understand. I hope you do. Elena leaves to the back entrance, duffel bag empty now. She drives home with her mind spinning. $20 million. More money than she could spend in a lifetime. Enough to ensure her child never wants for anything. Enough to fund schools, charities, futures. But first, she has to survive the fight. Because Hawkins, Price & Associates don't know it yet, but they just lost. Section 9, The New Life. The call comes on a Tuesday morning in March. Elena is 7 months pregnant now, belly huge, movements restricted. She's working through her second installment delivery to Marcus, 20 pounds of ore wrapped carefully in canvas, when her phone buzzes. Sarah Chun, Elena's lawyer. They're filing a petition, Chin says without preamble. Hawkins is requesting a court order to access your property for mineral survey. Hearing is scheduled for next month. Elena's pulse spikes. Can they win? Depends on the judge. I've drafted a counter motion arguing that the mineral rights don't extend to silver because it wasn't part of the original claim. It's a good argument, but not certain. What do? Show up to the hearing. Dress conservatively. Be respectful. Let me do the talking. And Elena, if you're moving any materials off that property, now would be the time to accelerate the timeline. I'm working on it. Work faster. Elena hangs up and immediately calls Marcus. I need to move more. Now, how much can you handle in the next 3 weeks? I can take 50 pounds if you can deliver it, but that's rushing. We'll have to spread the sales over more buyers. Riskier. Risk doesn't matter. They're filing court motions. We're out of time. Bring me what you can. I'll make it work. Elena spends the next 2 weeks hauling ore. She makes trip after trip into the tunnel, filling backpacks and duffel bags, climbing that carved ladder while 7 months pregnant and terrified she'll fall. Her body aches constantly. Her doctor would be furious if she knew what Elena was doing. But the alternative is losing everything. By the time of the court hearing, Elena has moved 120 pounds of ore. Marcus has advanced her $150,000, money she's deposited carefully in multiple accounts, documented as sales of inherited estate jewelry and antique metals. Legal, taxable, clean. The hearing takes place in the Hawkins County Courthouse, a beautiful old building that feels designed to intimidate. Elena wears her only dress, the one she bought for her mother's funeral. Chun is in a suit, professional and fierce. The Hawkins legal team arrives with 3 lawyers, Richard Hawkins himself, Jennifer Price, and a senior partner from a Bristol firm, a man in his 60s who radiates expensive competence. The judge is a woman in her 50s, Judge Patricia Morrison. She reads through petitions with a neutral expression that gives nothing away. Counsel for the petitioner, she says, "Your argument?" The senior partner stands. His name is William Cross, and his voice has the smooth confidence of someone who's never lost a property case. "Your Honor, the Hawkins Mining Company has held continuous mineral rights to this property since 1922. Those rights explicitly include all coal or metals and valuable minerals found beneath the surface. The petitioner seeks only to exercise their legal right to survey for potential deposits." Counsel for the respondent? Chun stands. "Your Honor, the original mineral rights claim specified coal. Silver was discovered later, in 1927, during operations. The mining company failed to file an amended claim registering silver extraction. Under Virginia property law, minerals not specified in the original claim revert to the surface rights holder if the rights holder fails to properly document extraction or notify the county. Do you have evidence the company failed to file proper documentation?" "I do, Your Honor." Chun presents documents. County records showing the original 1922 claim. Company records from 1927 showing silver discovery. But no amended claim, no county filing, just internal memos discussing the find. Judge Morrison examines them carefully. "Mr. Cross?" Cross stands again. "Your Honor, the original language, all metals, is sufficiently broad to include silver. No amended filing was necessary. But you didn't specify silver. We didn't need to. The language covers it." Ms. Chun: "Your Honor, all metals in 1922 mining terminology typically meant metals associated with coal mining. Iron, copper, not precious metals like silver or gold, which were regulated differently and required separate claims." The judge makes notes. "I'm going to take this under advisement, but I'm inclined to agree with Ms. Chun. The company's failure to properly document silver extraction suggests they didn't believe their original claim covered it. Otherwise, why hide the operation?" Cross's expression tightens. "Your Honor, we're not asking for a determination of ownership. We're simply requesting survey access. If I grant survey access and your survey finds valuable deposits, you'll be back in my court arguing for extraction rights. I'd rather settle the underlying ownership question first. Motion for survey access is denied pending a full hearing on mineral rights ownership. We'll schedule that for, let's see, September." "Your Honor," Cross says, "September is 6 months away." "I'm aware. I have a full docket. 6 months, or I dismiss the petition entirely. Your choice." Cross looks at Richard Hawkins, who nods reluctantly. 6 months is acceptable, Your Honor." "Ms. Voss, you're ordered not to extract or remove any minerals from the property pending resolution." "Understood." Elena nods. "Yes, Your Honor." They're dismissed. Outside the courthouse, Chin grabs Elena's arm. "That was huge. Morrison basically telegraphed she's ruling in our favor. But you heard her. No extraction. If they catch you moving silver now, you violated a court order. That's contempt. Possible jail time." "I understand." "Do you? Because if you've been moving anything, you need to stop. Immediately. 6 months isn't long. We can wait." Elena nods, but her mind is already calculating. 120 pounds moved, 180 remaining. At the rate she's been working, she needs another 6 weeks to move it all. 6 weeks before the court order was issued. She's already broken it. That night, Elena makes a decision. She calls Marcus. I need you to move the rest. All of it. I'll deliver it over the next month. I don't care about the risk. Just get it done. Elena, are you sure? The court ordered me not to extract anything else, which means what's already extracted needs to disappear before anyone asks questions. Can you do it? It'll be messy, but yes, bring me everything. Elena spends April hauling the remaining ore. Her pregnancy is advanced now, belly enormous, baby kicking constantly. She shouldn't be climbing down tunnels and carrying heavy loads. She definitely shouldn't be driving to Johnson City twice a week with duffel bags of silver ore, but she does it anyway. By May, the chamber is empty. All 300 pounds moved. Marcus is working through his network, selling to buyers in 6 states. The money flows slowly but steadily into Elena's accounts. $2.1 million after Marcus's cut. $1.5 million after Chen's percentage. More money than Elena ever imagined having. In June, she gives birth. A daughter, 8 pounds, healthy, perfect. Elena names her Iris after the grandmother she never met. The baby has dark eyes, fierce even as a newborn. When she cries, it's with determination, not despair. Elena holds her daughter in the small cabin and whispers promises. Promises of security, of education, of never being desperate, of having choices. The September hearing comes. Judge Morrison rules that the silver rights belong to Elena as the surface rights holder because the Hawkins Mining Company failed to properly document their extraction and failed to file an amended claim. The mineral rights to coal remain with Hawkins, but silver, if any exists, belongs to Elena. Hawkins appeals. Chen expects they will. But appeals take years, and by then, the silver will be long sold. Elena uses the money carefully. She hires a contractor to renovate the cabin, adds electricity, installs plumbing, insulates the walls, creates a real home, not just survival shelter. She buys a reliable vehicle, sets up college funds for Iris, invests the rest conservatively, creating income streams that will last generations. She doesn't tell anyone where the money came from. Officially, it's from selling inherited antiques and estate jewelry. The IRS accepts the documentation. The taxes are paid. The tunnel remains. Elena seals the chamber door again, replaces the false floorboard in the root cellar. The silver is gone, but the secret remains. Insurance, maybe, or just respect for her grandmother's work. She planted a garden in the spring. Teaches Iris to identify mountain laurel and white oak. Watches her daughter grow strong in the clean mountain air. Sometimes on quiet evenings, Elena walks the ridge where her grandmother once stood, looks out over the hollow, thinks about the woman who spent 60 years protecting a secret, who died poor despite sitting on a fortune because she couldn't find a safe way to use it. Elena found the way, took the risk her grandmother couldn't take, and won. The mountain keeps its secrets still. But Elena's secrets are her own now. Her daughter's inheritance isn't just money, it's knowledge. The understanding that sometimes you have to fight for what's yours. Sometimes you have to take risks. And sometimes the mountain gives back what it takes, if you're brave enough to claim it. 3 years later, the Hawkins appeal is denied. The silver rights are Elena's, legally and permanently. Not that it matters. The silver is gone, sold, converted to cash and invested and secured. But the ruling matters symbolically. Validation. Victory. Elena frames the court decision and hangs it in the cabin. Iris is 3 now, running through the woods like she owns them. Maybe she does. It's her mountain, too. The mining company finally gives up. The mineral rights to coal remain on the books, but coal is worthless now anyway. The mountain is safe. Protected. Forever. Elena sits on her porch one autumn evening, watching Iris chase fireflies, and thinks about generational wealth. About how one woman's courage 90 years ago created opportunity for descendants she'd never meet. Her grandmother stole from thieves and called it justice. Elena moved the silver and called it inheritance. Both were right. Both did what they had to do to survive. The mountain witnessed it all, held secrets across a century, gave up its treasure to those who earned it through courage and determination. And Elena Voss, pregnant and desperate and alone, fought her way to security and won. She pulls out the photograph she keeps in her pocket. Young Iris Voss, standing in front of the same cabin, staring at the camera with fierce eyes. "We did it, Grandma," Elena whispers. "We won." The mountain doesn't answer. Mountains never do. But Elena knows the truth. The mountain already gave its answer. 94 years of silence, ended by one woman brave enough to claim what was hidden. The silver is gone. The secret remains. And Elena's daughter will grow up knowing that some fights are worth having. Some risks are worth taking. And some mountains give back what they take, if you know how to ask. 15 years later, Iris Voss is 18 years old when she finds the second chamber. She's been exploring the mountain her entire life, knows every ridge and hollow like her own heartbeat. Her mother taught her to read the land, to understand the way water flows and stone breaks, to see patterns in the forest that most people miss. But she's never seen this before. The entrance reveals itself after a spring storm, a massive downpour that sends mudslides cascading down the western slope. When Iris hikes up to check the damage, she finds a section of hillside has collapsed, exposing stone that's too regular to be natural. Carved stone, worked stone, a wall built into the mountain itself. She calls her mother immediately. "Mom, you need to see this." Elena arrives within the hour, climbing the slope with the easy confidence of someone who spent 2 decades on this mountain. She's 43 now, her dark hair showing threads of silver, her face weathered but strong. The years have been good to her. The money from the silver bought security, but the mountain gave her something more valuable: peace. She studies the exposed wall, running her fingers over the stonework. This is old, really old, older than Grandma's tunnel. Could it be another mine entrance? Maybe, but the stone is different. Look at the way it's fitted. No mortar, just precision cutting. This isn't mining work. This is something else. They spend the afternoon carefully excavating, removing mud and debris. By evening, they've exposed a doorway. Not a door frame, but a doorway carved directly into the living rock. The opening is maybe 4 feet high, 3 feet wide, human size, but built for people smaller than modern Americans. Inside, darkness stretches beyond the reach of their flashlights. Elena hesitates at the threshold. She spent 15 years trying to forget the fear that came with her grandmother's silver, the danger, the legal battles, the constant worry that someone would discover what she'd done. But Iris has her grandmother's eyes, the same fierce determination, the same need to know. "We're going in," Iris says. Not a question. Elena sighs. "Get proper equipment first. Helmets, rope, extra lights. We do this safely, or we don't do it at all." They return the next morning with gear borrowed from a local caving club. Elena has become friendly with the outdoor community over the years, one of the benefits of having money and time to pursue hobbies. She's learned rock climbing, caving, wilderness survival, skills her grandmother never had time to develop because she was too busy surviving. The passage beyond the doorway is tight, but navigable. They move in single file, Elena leading, Iris behind. The stone walls are smooth, carved with purpose. Every 20 feet, they find small alcoves cut into the walls, each one containing the remains of what might have been torches or lanterns. The soot marks are still visible after however many centuries. "Mom, this isn't colonial era. This isn't even 19th century." Elena nods slowly. "I know." The passage descends at a gentle angle, spiraling deeper into the mountain. They walk for what feels like hours, but is probably only 30 minutes. The air grows warmer as they go, not cold and damp like a normal cave. Warm and dry, like something is heating the space from below. Then the passage opens into a chamber. Elena's flashlight beam sweeps across a space that makes her breath catch. The chamber is massive, easily 100 feet across, the ceiling lost in shadows above. The walls are covered in carvings. Not random decorations, but complex designs. Spirals, geometric patterns, symbols that look almost like writing, but aren't any alphabet Elena recognizes. In the center of the chamber stands a structure, not a building, exactly, more like a platform or altar, carved from a single piece of stone. It's maybe 15 feet across, raised 3 feet off the ground. And on top of it, arranged in a perfect circle, are objects. Iris approaches slowly, her helmet light illuminating each piece. Mom, these are artifacts, ancient artifacts. Elena joins her, examining the objects carefully without touching. There are tools made from stone and bone, pottery vessels, decorated with the same spiral patterns that cover the walls. And in the very center, a box, not wood or metal, but stone, carved with extraordinary precision. The lid is sealed with what looks like clay or cement, hardened by time into something nearly as strong as the stone itself. What is this place? Iris whispers. Elena shakes her head. I don't know, but it predates European settlement. Predates anything I've ever heard about in this region. They explore the chamber carefully, documenting everything with photographs and video. The carvings seem to tell a story, though Elena can't decipher it. Images of people, mountains, what might be stars or spirits. A narrative preserved in stone. Near the back wall, they find another passage. This one is different. The entrance is sealed with stones carefully fitted together, creating a wall that's clearly meant to block access. Someone closed this deliberately. Elena says, after the chamber was built, they sealed whatever's beyond. Iris runs her hand along the sealed entrance. Should we open it? Absolutely not. Not until we understand what this place is. Not until we consulted experts. But Iris has already noticed something. Mom, look at the stones. There's a gap at the top. It's been disturbed. Elena looks closer. Iris is right. Someone has removed the upper stones and then replaced them, but not as carefully as the original builders. The fit is loose. Recent work, relatively speaking, within the last century rather than the last millennium. Grandma Iris says suddenly, she found this place. She must have. Elena's stomach tightens. Of course she did. The coordinates in the journal pointed to a surface entrance. Elena assumed it led to the silver chamber. But what if it led here instead? What if the silver chamber was just the beginning? They examined the loosely fitted stones. Working together, they're able to shift them aside. The passage beyond is narrow, barely wide enough to squeeze through. And it's warm, much warmer than the chamber. Air flows through the gap, carrying a scent Elena can't identify. Mineral, metallic, old. We're going through, Iris says. Elena wants to say no, wants to be the responsible parent who insists on calling archaeologists, getting permits, doing everything properly. But she's her mother's daughter too, and her grandmother's granddaughter. Some risks are worth taking. Stay behind me, Elena says, and if I say we retreat immediately. Understood. Understood. They squeeze through the gap one at a time. The passage beyond is shorter than Elena expected, maybe only 30 feet long. It opens into a smaller chamber, and this one takes Elena's breath away. The walls glow, not with artificial light, with bioluminescence. The stone itself seems alive with a faint blue-green luminescence that pulses softly, like breathing. The light is just bright enough to see by, casting the chamber in an otherworldly glow. What the hell? Iris breathes. Elena approaches the wall carefully, examining it. The glow comes from within the stone, not from the surface, as if the rock itself is alive with some kind of energy. She's never seen anything like it. In the center of this chamber sits another structure, but this one isn't a platform. It's a well, a perfectly circular opening in the stone floor, maybe 6 feet across. Water fills it to within a foot of the rim, and the water glows with the same blue-green light. Iris kneels beside it, staring down. How deep is it? Elena drops a pebble in. They count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No splash. That's impossible, Elena says. We should have heard it hit bottom or water by now. Iris leans farther over. Mom, there's something down there. I can see shapes in the glow. Elena looks. She's right. Deep in the well, maybe 100 feet down, something reflects the bioluminescent light. Something metallic and regular. Not natural formation. There's another chamber down there, Elena says slowly. A deep one, and something in it is reflecting light. They sit beside the well for a long moment, processing this. Then Elena pulls out her grandmother's journal. She's brought it with her, wrapped carefully in plastic. She's read it 1,000 times over the years, knows every entry by heart. But now she reads with new understanding. The mountain holds more than one secret. That line from the journal. Elena always thought it meant there was more silver in the main vein. But what if it meant this? What if her grandmother found this chamber, this glowing well, this impossible depth? She flips to the back of the journal, to pages she's never paid much attention to. Rough sketches, notes that seem like geological observations. But looking at them now, with the glowing chamber around her, Elena sees what she missed before. The sketches are maps, not of the silver chamber, of this place, the ceremonial chamber, the sealed passage, and this well, and beneath the sketch of the well, in her grandmother's careful handwriting, deeper than silver, older than memory. Some treasures aren't meant for taking. Elena's hands tremble. Her grandmother found this place, explored it, and chose to seal again, chose to leave it undisturbed. Iris, Elena says quietly, we need to leave. What? Why? We just found this. Because Grandma Iris found it too, and she sealed it. That means she had a reason. Or she was scared, or didn't have the equipment to explore properly. Your great-grandmother spent 60 years hiding silver. She mined illegally. She wasn't afraid of taking what she wanted. If she left us alone, it wasn't from fear. It was from wisdom. Iris looks at the glowing well, then back at her mother. You don't want to know what's down there? Of course I want to know. But wanting to know and needing to know are different things. Some mysteries exist for a reason. They argue about it for an hour. Iris wants to call in professional cavers, archaeologists, geologists. Wants to explore the well properly, document whatever's below. She argues that the chamber is a significant archaeological find, possibly relating to pre-Columbian peoples, that it belongs to history, not to them. Elena argues that her grandmother sealed this place deliberately, that disturbing it violated something important, that some secrets are meant to stay secret. In the end, they compromise. They'll document what they found, photograph everything, research similar sites, but they won't disturb the well, won't attempt to descend. Not yet, not until they understand more. They spend the next week exploring the ceremonial chamber, the one before the sealed passage. Elena brings a friend, an anthropologist from East Tennessee State University, who specializes in pre-Columbian cultures. His name is Dr. James Wright, and when he sees the chamber, he actually sits down hard on the stone floor. This is Mississippian, he says, voice shaking. Late Mississippian, probably 1300s or 1400s. But I've never seen anything like this. The complexity of the carvings, the astronomical alignments, the engineering. This is more sophisticated than any Mississippian site I've studied. What was it for? Elena asks. Wright examines the carvings carefully. The spirals represent cycles. Birth, death, renewal. The geometric patterns might be astronomical. See the sequence here? It could be tracking lunar cycles. And these figures, they're not just decorative. They're telling a story. He spends hours studying the walls, taking notes, making sketches. Finally, he turns to Elena. This was a sacred site, a place of ceremony and power. The people who built this believed the mountain itself was alive, that it contained spirits or forces that needed to be honored and contained. Contained? See these symbols here? He points to a section of carving near the sealed passage. These represent binding, protection, warning. Whoever created this chamber was trying to keep something in, or keep something out. Elena thinks about the glowing well beyond the sealed passage, about the depth that swallowed a pebble without echo, about her grandmother's warning. Some treasures aren't meant for taking. Dr. Wright, if we found a passage beyond this chamber, one that was deliberately sealed, would you recommend opening it? Wright's expression turned serious. Absolutely not. If it was sealed deliberately, especially with ritual significance, disturbing it would be both archaeologically irresponsible and potentially dangerous. These sites often have structural instabilities. Disturbing sealed passages can trigger collapse. Elena nods slowly. That's what I thought. Over the next month, Wright brings in a small team. They document the ceremonial chamber thoroughly. Carbon dating places it at approximately 1350 CE. Analysis of the carvings reveals astronomical alignments that track solstices and lunar cycles with remarkable precision. The pottery is unlike anything found in other Mississippian sites, suggesting this was a unique cultural center. Elena allows the research on one condition. The sealed passage stays sealed. She doesn't tell Wright what lies beyond. Doesn't mention the glowing chamber or the impossible well. Some secrets, she's decided, are hers to keep. The discovery makes regional news. Ancient ceremonial chamber discovered in Virginia mountains. Elena and Iris are interviewed. Wright publishes papers. The site is registered with the State Archaeological Survey. But no one mentions the sealed passage. No one asks what might lie beyond. Except Iris. She asks constantly. Argues that they have a responsibility to explore. That whatever's down that well could be scientifically significant. That hiding it is wrong. Elena understands. She was 18 once. Believed that all mysteries deserved answers. That knowledge was more important than caution. It took her years to learn differently. One night, 6 months after the discovery, Elena takes Iris up to the ridge. They sit where Elena used to sit when she was pregnant, alone and terrified, where she made the decision to move the silver, where she chose risk over safety. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone, Elena says. When I moved the silver, when I sold it against court orders and risked everything, I thought I was being brave, thought I was fighting for our future. You were, maybe, but I was also lucky, so incredibly lucky. If Hawkins had found out what I was doing, if Marcus had betrayed me, if any 100 things had gone wrong, I'd have lost everything. You would have been born in poverty because I was too stubborn to wait for a legal solution. But it worked out. It did. But Iris, the thing about gambling is that winners remember their risks as courage. Losers remember them as stupidity. The difference is luck, not wisdom. Iris is quiet for a moment. What does this have to do with the well? Your great-grandmother found that chamber. I'm certain of it now. She was young, smart, determined, just like you. She must have wanted to explore that well, wanted to know what was down there, but she didn't. No, she sealed it instead. And she was the kind of woman who took enormous risks. She mined silver illegally for months. She hid it for 60 years. She fought the mining company until the day she died. That wasn't a woman who scared easily. So why did she seal the well? I think because she understood the difference between a risk worth taking and a risk that's just reckless. The silver was wealth she could use, could convert to security, could give to family. But whatever's down that well, it can't be used, can't be converted, can't help anyone. It can only satisfy curiosity. Knowledge for its own sake has value. Sometimes. But sometimes knowledge comes with costs we can't anticipate. And sometimes the wise choice is to leave mysteries alone. Iris looks out over the darkened hollow. Somewhere in that darkness, the ceremonial chamber waits. The sealed passage, the glowing well, mysteries that have survived 700 years. You're asking me to give up? She says finally. No, I'm asking you to choose carefully what's worth fighting for. The silver was worth fighting for because it changed our lives, made you possible, made all of this possible. Elena gestures to the renovated cabin below, the life they've built. But that well, that depth, what's down there has been there for centuries. It'll be there for centuries more. The question isn't whether we can explore it. The question is whether we should. And you think we shouldn't. I think we're not ready. I think the risks outweigh the rewards. And I think your great-grandmother, who was braver and tougher than either of us will ever be, made the same choice. That should tell us something. They sit in silence, watching stars emerge. The mountain breathes around them, ancient and patient. It's kept secrets for millennia. It can keep them longer. Finally, Iris speaks. Okay, we leave it sealed. For now. But Mom, When I'm older, when I've learned more, have more resources, better equipment, I'm coming back to this. Elena nods. I know. And maybe by then you'll be ready. Or maybe you'll understand why waiting is sometimes the right choice. That's a very parent thing to say. Elena laughs. I've been a parent for 18 years. I'm allowed some parent wisdom. They walk back down the mountain together, leaving the secret sealed. Behind them, deep in the earth, the well glows with its patient blue-green light. Whatever waits at the bottom continues waiting. Some mysteries, Elena has learned, aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be respected, protected, passed down as warnings rather than challenges. 5 years later, Iris graduates from college with degrees in archaeology and geology. She spent 5 years studying pre-Columbian cultures, cave systems, and ancient mining techniques. She's learned from experts, gained experience, built relationships with researchers who share her curiosity and her caution. She's 23, the same age her great-grandmother was when she started mining silver. Elena watches her daughter pack equipment for a proper expedition, professional caving gear, scientific instruments, documentation equipment, a small team of trusted researchers who've signed non-disclosure agreements. You're ready, Elena says. It's not a question. I think so. We're not going to be reckless. We'll descend carefully, document everything. If we encounter anything unstable or dangerous, we retreat immediately. Your great-grandmother would be proud of you, the caution and the courage. Iris hugs her mother. Come with us. You should be there when we finally see what's down there. Elena hesitates. She's 48 now, still strong, still capable. But the years have taught her the value of knowing when to step back. This is your discovery, Iris. Your mystery to solve. I had mine. The silver was my challenge. This is yours. Are you sure? I'm sure, but I'll be waiting at the surface. And if you find anything that scares you, anything that makes you want to seal again, I'll support that choice. The expedition takes 3 days of preparation. They lower cameras first, mapping the well's depth and structure. The well descends 170 feet, straight down through solid bedrock. At the bottom, it opens into another chamber. The camera footage shows stone walls covered in the same bioluminescent growth. And in the center of that deep chamber, something that makes the entire team go silent. A structure. Not natural. Definitely not natural. It's built from blocks of stone fitted together with impossible precision. The structure is maybe 20 feet tall, pyramidal in shape, and it's not empty. The camera catches glimpses of openings, passages leading inside. It's a tomb, Iris says, watching the footage, or a temple. Something built with enormous effort and sealed deliberately. Wright, who's part of the expedition team, shakes his head slowly. The engineering required to build this at this depth, with the tools available in 1350, it's extraordinary. Maybe impossible. Unless what? Unless they had help we don't understand. Or unless the structure predates what we think we know about this region's cultural development. They debate for hours. The safe choice is to document remotely and leave it sealed. The bold choice is to descend and explore properly. Iris makes a decision. They're descending. Elena watches from the surface as the team prepares. They brought professional climbing equipment, communication systems, emergency protocols. Everything is as safe as it can be. But Elena still feels dread in her stomach. The same dread she felt 19 years ago when she first opened the sealed chamber and found the silver. The sense that some doors, once open, can't be closed again. The descent takes 2 hours. The team rappels down carefully, documenting every foot. The bioluminescent growth provides enough light to see by, but they bring high-powered LED lights as well. When they reach the bottom, Iris's voice comes to the radio, awed and afraid. Mom, you need to see this. We're sending video. The video feed shows the pyramidal structure from ground level. It's even more impressive from this angle. The stones are massive, each one weighing several tons. The joints between them are so tight a knife blade couldn't fit through. And carved into every surface are more spirals, more geometric patterns, more of the writing that isn't quite writing. The team approaches the structure carefully. There's an entrance, a doorway that's been sealed with a single massive stone. But this stone has been moved before. Recently, within the last century. Grandma Iris was here, Iris says into the radio. She made it this far. Inside the structure, the passages are narrow and low. The team moves single file, documenting as they go. The passages spiral inward, creating a maze-like interior. And at the very center, they find a chamber. It's small, maybe 10 feet across. The ceiling is low enough that the team has to crouch. And in the center of this innermost chamber sits a stone sarcophagus. Not a box, a sarcophagus, carved from a single piece of stone, decorated with the most intricate carvings they've seen yet. The lid is sealed, fitted with such precision that the seam is barely visible. And standing against the wall, propped carefully, is a note written on paper that's yellow but preserved in the dry, sterile environment. Iris picks it up carefully. The handwriting is familiar, her great-grandmother's precise script. She reads it aloud for the radio, for her mother listening above. My name is Iris Voss. I am 24 years old. It is September 1931. If you are reading this, you have descended the well. You have found what I found. Now you must make the same choice I made. Inside this sarcophagus lies something I don't understand, something that predates everything I know about this land. I opened it. I looked inside, and I realized immediately that some knowledge is too dangerous to share. I won't describe what I saw, won't give you preconceptions, but I will tell you this. Whatever lies in that stone box wasn't meant to be found. The people who buried it here, who built this impossible structure in an impossible place, they were trying to contain something, protect the world from it, or protect it from the world. I sealed it again. I climbed back up that well and sealed the passage and never told anyone what I found. Not my family, not my friends, not the mining company that I stole from. This secret was bigger than silver, more important than wealth, more valuable than anything I could imagine. If you're reading this, you're probably young, probably curious, probably certain you can handle whatever's in that box. I was too. I was wrong. My advice? Climb back up. Seal the passage. Let this mystery sleep. The world doesn't need every question answered. Some secrets protect us by remaining secret. But if you choose to look, if curiosity is stronger than wisdom, then look, and then decide whether the world deserves to know what you found. Choose wisely. The mountain is patient, but it remembers, and it judges. The note ends there. Through the radio, Elena hears her daughter breathing, hears the team discussing, hears the debate begin. One researcher argues they should open the sarcophagus, document whatever's inside. That's the purpose of archaeology, to reveal the past. Wright argues against it, says that if the original culture went to such lengths to seal something, and if Iris Voss, who wasn't superstitious, chose to leave it sealed, then they should respect that decision. Iris is silent for a long moment. Then she speaks. We take photographs, document the sarcophagus from every angle, carbon date if possible, but we don't open it. Not today. Maybe not ever. Iris, we came all this way. One researcher begins, and we found an incredible sight, documented a structure that shouldn't exist, made discoveries that will change what we know about pre-Columbian engineering. That's enough. The sarcophagus stays sealed. There's protests, arguments, but Iris is the landowner, the expedition lead. Her decision is final. They spend 6 hours in the deep chamber, documenting everything. Then they climb back up, leaving the sarcophagus untouched. When Iris emerges to the surface, covered in limestone dust and sweat, Elena embraces her. Proud of you, baby. I wanted to open it. God, I wanted to open it so bad. I know. But Grandma Iris was brave, and she chose to leave it sealed. That has to mean something. It means you're learning wisdom to go with your courage. That's rare. They seal the well, not permanently, but securely. A steel grate bolted into the stone, locked with a mechanism that requires specific tools to open. It can be accessed again if needed, but not easily, not impulsively. Wright publishes papers about the ceremonial chamber and the evidence of an unexplored lower structure. The papers make waves in archaeological circles. But he doesn't mention the sarcophagus, doesn't reveal the full extent of what they found. Some secrets, he writes, serve the world better by remaining mysterious. 10 years later, Elena is 58. Iris is 33. The mountain has been part of the family for nearly 3 decades now. The ceremonial chamber has become a limited-access archaeological site. Researchers visit occasionally, always with permission, always supervised. The mountain's mysteries attract scholars, but Elena has learned to control access, to protect what her grandmother protected. The silver money has been invested wisely. Iris has a trust fund that will last her lifetime. Elena has donated to causes her grandmother would have approved of: workers' rights, environmental protection, historical preservation. The cabin is now a real house, still rustic but comfortable. Solar panels provide electricity. A well provides clean water. The outhouse is gone, replaced by proper plumbing. It's no longer survival living. It's chosen living. Iris, now a professor of archaeology, brings her own daughter to visit. The girl is 3 years old. Her name is Iris too. Iris the Third. Another generation. Little Iris runs through the forest fearlessly, chasing butterflies, collecting interesting rocks. She has her great-great-grandmother's eyes. That same fierce curiosity. Elena watches her granddaughter and wonders what mysteries she'll find, what risks she'll take, what secrets she'll choose to keep or reveal. One evening, sitting on the porch while little Iris sleeps inside, Elena and her daughter talk about the future. The grate on the well is rusting. Iris says, "We'll need to replace it soon. Or remove it entirely. Let the mountain reclaim the passage." "You'd seal it permanently?" Elena considers. "Your grandmother sealed it for 60 years. We've had it open for 10. Maybe that's enough. Maybe some mysteries don't need to be accessible. But what if little Iris wants to explore when she's grown? What if she has questions we can't answer? Then she'll find her own mysteries. Every generation does. The sarcophagus isn't the only secret in these mountains. There are probably dozens more. Hundreds. Things we'll never find because we're not looking in the right places or asking the right questions." Iris nods slowly. "Do you ever regret not opening it? The sarcophagus?" "Every day. And never. That's the thing about mysteries. The wondering is part of their value. If we'd opened it, we'd know what's inside. But we'd lose the wonder, the possibility, the respect for what we chose not to do." Very zen. Elena laughs. "Very old. I'm allowed to be philosophical at my age." They sit in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge. The mountain breathes around them, patient as always. "Mom," Iris says eventually, "Dr. Wright died last month." Elena's chest tightens. "I didn't know." "Heart attack. Very sudden. He was 78. I went to his funeral. And afterward, his daughter gave me something. He left it for me specifically." Iris pulls an envelope from her jacket pocket. Old paper, sealed with wax. Her name written on the front in Wright's careful handwriting. She opens it. Inside is a letter and a photograph. The photograph shows the sarcophagus. But this photo wasn't taken by their expedition. It's older. Film photography, not digital. The colors have that faded quality of pictures from the 1960s or 70s. The letter is short. "Dear Iris, if you're reading this, I'm gone. That's fine. I had a good run. I lied to you about the sarcophagus. Not completely, but by omission. I didn't tell you that I'd been in that chamber before, that I found it in 1973 when I was a graduate student doing survey work in these mountains. I opened the sarcophagus. Your great-grandmother warned against it, but I didn't know about her note then. I was 24 and arrogant and certain I was smarter than the ancients who sealed it. I looked inside, and I saw what they were protecting. I won't tell you what it was. Won't burden you with the knowledge, but I will tell you that I understood immediately why it was sealed, why it needed to stay sealed. I closed it, sealed it as best I could, climbed back up, and never told anyone. Spent the rest of my career studying the ceremonial chamber, but deliberately avoiding the lower structure. When you came to me with your discovery, I was relieved. Relieved that someone else had found it. Someone from a family that protected it for generations. Someone I could trust to make the right choice. You did make the right choice. You chose wisdom over curiosity. That's rare in academics. Rare in anyone. Keep it sealed, Iris, for your daughter, for her children, for all the generations that come after. What's in that box isn't evil, exactly, but it's powerful. And power without understanding is the most dangerous thing in the world. Your great-grandmother understood that. Now you do too. Protect the mountain. It's been protecting all of us longer than we know, with respect and admiration. James Wright. Iris reads a letter aloud, her voice shaking slightly. When she finishes, Elena takes it, examining the photograph. He was part of it. Elena says quietly, part of the chain. Grandma Iris sealed it. Wright found it and sealed it again. You found it and chose not to open it. We're all part of the same story. How many others, do you think? How many people over the centuries have found that chamber and made the same choice? Impossible to know, but I'd guess dozens, maybe hundreds. The chamber has been there for 700 years. The sarcophagus probably longer. Every generation. Someone curious enough to explore and wise enough to leave alone. That's a lot of faith in human judgment, or recognition that the really dangerous knowledge comes with warning signs, and the people willing to heed warnings are the ones who find them. Little Iris calls from inside, her young voice cutting through the night. Grandma, Mom, come look at the fireflies. They go inside, leaving the letter and photograph on the porch table. The mountain secrets can wait. Family can't. 20 years later, Elena Voss is 78 years old when she makes her last climb to the ceremonial chamber. Her body is failing. Cancer, the doctors say. Aggressive. Treatment options exist, but at her age, the cure might be worse than the disease. She's chosen hospice. Chosen to spend her final months on the mountain that's been her home for 5 decades. Iris helps her make the climb. Not down to the sarcophagus, that's beyond Elena's physical capacity now, but to the ceremonial chamber, to the place where her grandmother's mysteries began. They sit together on a stone platform, the altar where ancient peoples once performed rituals Elena can only imagine. I'm going to tell you something, Elena says. Her voice is weaker than it used to be, but still clear, still determined. Something I've never told anyone. Iris takes her mother's hand. You don't have to. I do, because it's time to pass it on. The full story. No more secrets. Elena talks for hours, tells Iris everything. The exact amount of silver she moved, the names of people she dealt with, some of whom broke laws to help her, the close calls, the moments she almost got caught, the nights she lay awake terrified that everything would collapse. She talks about guilt, about the mining company workers who might have lost their jobs when the silver disappeared, about the legal ambiguities she exploited, about the fact that her security came from theft, even if the thieves were thieves themselves. I justified it, Elena says. Told myself I was taking back what was stolen. Told myself the company didn't deserve it. And maybe I was right. But maybe I was just rationalizing. Maybe I was a thief who got lucky. You were a mother protecting her child. Iris says firmly, you did what you had to do. Maybe, but Iris, that's the thing about moral choices. They're rarely clean. I broke laws, violated court orders, put people at risk. And I got away with it because I was careful and lucky, but luck isn't virtue. Remember that. I will. And the sarcophagus, that choice I'm proud of. Not opening it, not forcing knowledge that wasn't meant for me. That was wisdom, not fear. Remember that too. I will. Elena leans back against the carved wall, exhausted. The bioluminescence from the chamber below creates a faint glow in the darkness. She's thought about going down there one more time, descending the well, looking inside the sarcophagus before she dies. But that would be ego, wanting answers for her own sake, not for any greater purpose. Some questions don't need answers. There's money in a trust, Elena says. Enough to maintain the property for generations. Enough to ensure the ceremonial chamber is protected. Enough to keep the well sealed. I know, Mom. You've told me. But there's more. Money I haven't told you about. A separate account under a different name. It's for emergencies. For if someone tries to force access to the lower chamber. For if someone with resources and bad intentions discovers what's down there. How much? $3 million. What's left of the original silver money after everything else? It's yours now. Use it to protect this place. To fight whatever battles come. Iris squeezes her mother's hand. I'll protect it. I promise. And tell little Iris, when she's old enough, tell her the whole story. The silver, the sarcophagus, the choices we made. Let her decide what to do with it. Maybe her generation will be wise enough to open that box. Maybe they'll choose to seal it forever. Either way, it should be their choice. What does she want to open it? Elena smiles. Then she opens it. We don't own the future. Iris. We just try to give it options. They sit together until darkness falls completely. Then Iris helps her mother back down the mountain. It's the last time Elena will make this climb. 3 months later, Elena Voss dies peacefully in her sleep, in the house her grandmother built, on the mountain that kept secrets for millennia. Her funeral is small. Iris, little Iris, now 23 and in graduate school, a handful of friends from town. They bury her on the ridge, next to a simple marker for her grandmother. 2 women who never met, but shared the same fierce determination, the same willingness to fight for what they believed was right. The mountain witnesses it all, patient as always. 30 years later, Iris III is 53 years old when the government comes. Not local government. Federal. The Department of Interior, working with archaeologists from the Smithsonian. They've been conducting surveys of pre-Columbian sites throughout Appalachia. Someone mentioned the ceremonial chamber. Someone else mentioned rumors of a deeper structure. They want access. Full access. Documentation. Potential excavation. Iris refuses. The government pushes back. Argues that sites of historical significance belong to the nation, not to individuals. That knowledge is a public good. That hiding archaeological evidence is tantamount to destroying it. Iris hires lawyers. The best mineral rights attorneys money can buy. Uses emergency fund her grandmother set up for exactly this purpose. The case goes to court. Drags on for 3 years. The government argues public interest. Iris argues private property rights and the wishes of the indigenous peoples who built the site. It's the indigenous rights argument that wins. Iris works with the Eastern Band of Cherokee, whose ancestral lands included this region. They file a joint brief arguing that the ceremonial chamber and whatever lies below it represents sacred ground, that disturbing it would violate religious freedom protections. The judge rules in their favor. The site remains private. Access remains controlled. Iris wins, but she knows it's temporary. Every generation, someone will try again. Someone with resources and authority will demand access. And every generation, her family will have to fight. That's the burden her great-great-grandmother accepted when she chose to protect the mountain's secrets. The burden that passes down through bloodlines like a genetic inheritance. Some battles don't end. They just pause between generations. Iris stands on the ridge one evening, looking out over the hollow. Her daughter, Iris IV, is 15 now, starting to ask questions about the property, about why they spend so much time and money protecting what's essentially wilderness. Soon, Iris will have to tell her the whole story. The silver, the sarcophagus, the choices 4 generations of women have made. And then it will be Iris IV's turn. Her burden, her battle, her choice. The mountain breathes in the darkness. Patient, eternal, keeping its secrets. And the Voss women keep watch, generation after generation, protecting mysteries they don't fully understand from a world that isn't ready to know them. Some legacies are wealth. Some are knowledge. Some are responsibility. This legacy is all 3, and it's passed down through women who understand that power isn't just having secrets. It's knowing when to keep them, The mountain chose the first Iris Voss, and every iris after has chosen the mountain. The cycle continues, the secrets endure, and the hollow keeps its silence, waiting, always waiting, for whatever comes next.